Hello, everyone, and welcome to Capital Corner. Today, we are diving into one of the most extraordinary political moments in American history. Donald Trump has made a historic comeback, projected as the 47th President of the United States, defeating Vice President Kamala Harris in a highly charged election. With a decisive win in battleground Wisconsin, Trump surpasses the needed 276 electoral votes, reshaping the future of American politics. The Republicans have also secured the Senate and are poised to take control of the House, signaling a major shift in Washington. Joining us now is Republican leader Juan Pablo Segura, here to break down what this victory means for the nation and for U.S. relations abroad, especially with the key communities like Muslim, South Asian, and Pakistani communities. Juan, first of all, congratulations to you for winning the historic and tough elections. How excited are you about President Trump's victory, the Republicans securing the Senate? What do you think this win means for the Republican Party?
Well, first of all, Mansoor, it's always a pleasure to be on the show. It's always enjoy our time together, and to be honest, it's a great day to be a Republican, right? Or it's going to be a great couple days as things get certified and the parties are going to start, and obviously we have the next 4 years of a Republican president, so that's very exciting. I think there were a lot of open questions going into Election Day over probably the last week of the election. Donald Trump was being outspent. There were some mistakes made during the campaign, comedians saying certain things, and so there were some concerns. But at the end of the day, the people have spoken, and what you're seeing, and I think what's most exciting, is that you have a completely different Republican Party that went out and voted for Donald Trump instead of Kamala Harris over the last couple weeks with early voting and mail-in voting, and obviously on Election Day. And to me, that's the most exciting part. You have, it looks like Latino voters. Some exit polls are showing that 47% of Latino men voted for Donald Trump. That is astounding. Other exit polls are saying that black voters, especially black men, 22, 23, there was a number, kind of a ceiling that folks had established beforehand, saying that a Republican would never get more than 20% of the black vote, the black male vote, and Trump crushed it. And obviously you're seeing an incredible amount of support in immigrant communities, especially the Muslim community. And I think it's a testament to what he did in his campaign. He campaigned with the Muslim community. He was in Michigan with Muslim mayors and visiting Muslim mosques. And so I think this is a rebranding, a retooling of the party. I think that this is the right direction to go in when you look at being the party of the working class and the party of immigrants. And I think that's what's most exciting to me.
Well, I completely agree with you, and this is an amazing victory. Congratulations to you one more time. So, Mr. Segura, in your view, why did Americans reject Kamala Harris in favor of bringing Donald Trump back to office? What was it about Trump's message that resonated so strongly with voters this time?
Well, it's not just one thing. I think it's a combination of things. I think you've got to start with, and we've talked about this on a couple of different interviews, inflation. Inflation is the silent thief of a generation of wealth. And the amount of inflation that we've experienced in grocery goods and in energy costs, it's cut family budgets by hundreds of dollars a month. And so, there were a lot of people saying, oh, that's not important. Like, look, we've controlled inflation. But the problem is you have 3 or 4 years of inflation, and then, you get inflation under control. You're now suffering with 20, 30, 40% higher prices today than you were 4 or 5 years ago. And so there was a question that was always talked about on the campaign, which was, are you better off today than you were 4 years ago? And I think that question resonated with swing voters, with moderate voters. And so I thought that was important. I'd also say that, and one of the big mistakes that I believe Kamala Harris made in her campaign was really attacking Trump and going after, essentially making her campaign all about him being a bad person, and she never explained what her plans were, what she wanted to do, and how she was going to be different than Joe Biden. And I think that the failure, she was asked multiple times on interviews, what would you do differently than Joe Biden? And she couldn't answer that question. She would always skip it, or she would always change topics. And I think that was a big deal.
And I completely agree with you. I saw her interview a few times, and even if you ask her about economic policies, she always say that, hey, Trump, he's going to ban Muslim, he's going to do this, he's going to do this. So she was not obviously answering the questions properly. Mr. Segura, last night in his victory speech, President Trump specifically thanked Muslim Americans. Why do you think he chose to recognize them in this historic moment? And what role do you see this community playing in his new administration?
It's called Michigan. It's literally that simple. They were the deciding votes in that state. Changing or even moving that population 5-10 points probably meant the difference in winning versus losing. And so that was a big deal. I think not only was it appropriate to thank them, I think that the Muslim population needs to be a core component of the Republican coalition. I think if we embrace that opportunity, you'll see further changes in places like Virginia. We've talked a lot about this, Mansoor. Even places like Maryland, certain districts, congressional districts in Maryland, have a healthy Muslim population, and so we need to be very self-conscious. We need to widen the tent. We need to open the door to these communities, and we won't just win a state like Michigan. We'll win a lot more states, and I think that's. I'm glad that he did thank the Muslim population, because that was a big deal.
So, Mr. Segura, many of my friends, they're asking me this question because obviously Republicans, they lost in Virginia. What factors do you believe contributed to the Republican loss in Virginia? And what strategies would you suggest for Virginia Republicans to improve their performance in the future elections?
Well, I think you need to acknowledge the fact that the Trump campaign didn't prioritize Virginia as a state to do paid media, do like intense door knocking, intense voter outreach. They decided to focus more on what's called the swing states, which Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Georgia, Arizona, Nevada. But let's be serious. Virginia is a swing state, and if we had spent more resources trying to do voter persuasion, trying to get different groups out to vote, I think you could have seen a tighter margin. I mean, Harris only got 52% of the vote, so that's a big deal, and I think that's what it's going to come down to: is our future Republicans going to put in the work? Are they going to prioritize these different groups? And if they do, I think you're looking at a winning combination.
So, Segura, many people concerns that the Trump's America could pose risk to their communities and even to global stability. How would you address these fears? What direction do you see America heading in over the next 4 years under Mr. Trump's leadership?
Yeah, well, first of all, remember that there were no new wars under Donald Trump's last administration. And that's one of the things that I always share with folks is the world didn't blow up. In 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, there was a global pandemic. I don't think it was his fault, but I mean, maybe I don't know something that somebody else knows. I don't know. But when you just look at the attacks and the fear that's spread by his opponents, I think it's just important to look at what actually happened. I would also focus on the fact that, I mean, the 3,000-pound gorilla in the room is inflation and the economy. And so we got to solve that problem. We've got to make sure that we fix that problem. And I think that's really what you're going to see the Trump administration focus on.
Mr. Segura, as you know that you are the most favorite leader in Pakistani and Muslim and the South Asian community in Northern Virginia area.
That's an honor. I don't know if that's official, but I appreciate it.
So some of my Pakistani friends, they requested me to ask you this question. There is a considerable discussion within the Pakistani community about Trump's potential to build a stronger US-Pakistan relations, especially given the lack of engagement from Harris and Biden during their term. What do you think a Trump presidency means for US-Pakistan relations, and Pakistan is hoping for support, especially regarding figures like Mr. Imran Khan?
So, a couple different thoughts. I think it's incredibly important that the Trump administration and all Republicans in general continue to foster and develop the ties with the Pakistani community. I believe that if he planned a tour of certain countries, Muslim majority countries, either in the Middle East or in other areas in that region in the world, if he were to spend time, visit with the leaders, and show his appreciation, I think that would be an incredible step towards winning even more of that vote and bringing that vote into the Republican coalition going forward. So that would be my advice to him. I do know that when you spend the time to go to somebody else's home, right, or you're a guest in somebody else's home, people notice. And so I think there's a big opportunity to create and develop relationships. And obviously I know the situation with Imran Khan is a difficult one, but I know that President-elect Trump or President Trump, it's hard now. I don't even know what to call him. But I know he already has a relationship with them, and so I think we need to keep continuing these relationships with the Pakistani people.
So, Mr. Segura, thank you so much for coming into my program. What would be your final message to Pakistani, Indian, South Asian, Muslim, Americans, along with your fellow Republicans on this significant victory in the presidential election?
I just want to remind all the viewers that politics is a sport or a game of addition and should never be subtraction. And so we've talked a lot about this, Mansoor. I genuinely believe that the Republican Party is stronger with the Muslim community. It's stronger with the Latino community. It's stronger with immigrant communities, because this is a part of the country that risks it all to come here. They work hard. They study hard. They earn everything that they have, and so I would just encourage and suggest that the party continue to build those relationships. And for those viewers that might have never thought to vote Republican, I hope that you know that Republican leaders are trying to walk with you and are trying to go arm in arm and serve you. And so I think that's something that we're very serious about. We believe in wholeheartedly, and I think that this is an opportunity to continue to show that after this electoral win.
Thank you, Mr. Juan Pablo Segura, for joining us on Capital Corner. To all my fellow Americans and community members, minority vote matters. Muslim votes are crucial in swing states. And thank you, President Trump, for recognizing our community in your victory speech. God bless you, and may God bless United States of America.